Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Time Talk. I am Quentin Anderson, the host of today's show, and today I have with me a very close and very dear friend of mine, Jonathan Labby from JCL Creative. Jonathan, what's up, dude?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Man, thanks.
It's been a bit.
It's been a minute, and thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy schedule to join us today. Just to give a little bit of background and just to brag about you a little bit. So I've known Jonathan maybe 10 years at this point,
Yeah.
possibly more. And Jonathan and I have probably done any kind of project you can think of. We've done live events, we've done videos, we've done animations, we've done pixel streaming, we've done video shoots for Encore. What was that? Safety training videos.
Yeah.
Like, what have we not done?
We did well. One of the first things. Remember when we did we it was the software video, and where it was I came up with this grandiose idea and pitched it to the client, and it's like shooting all the plate shots, and then you guys ripped out all your hair trying to do all the compositing and everything. I mean, you guys did a really good job on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say we have been partners in crime in pretty much any type of digital media delivery experience. And notwithstanding, we actually also did a pixel streaming project together. And so hopefully we have the opportunity to maybe talk about that project a little bit on today's show. And yeah, just also catch up a little bit with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And I know we've had you before, but it would be great if you maybe just give us a little bit of an intro to who you are, what JCL Creative is all about, and sort of what you guys do.
All right. So thank you, Quentin. So yes, my name is Jonathan Labby. Company's called JCL Creative, and we're a full service production company. We work primarily, well, I want to say primarily, but most of the time we're working with oil and gas clients, so the energy sector, and we do product marketing, training videos, different sorts of animations, all different types of things, and but yeah, it's been very fun. We've been doing this for about 25 years now. So, and I'm always trying to, look for the next latest and greatest bit of technology. Always try to stay on the cutting edge of the industry. And if I feel like I'm falling behind, then I just give Quentin a ring and it's like, okay, so what do you got going on? I know that if I'm not like at the forefront, then I know that Quentin's paying attention and doing stuff. And so, but the pixel streaming side of things has been really, really fun to dive into, the last, what now, 5 years or so. I remember when I first started, when you started teaching me about it, like thought I knew what it was, and it's like, well, no, that's not quite what we do with it. But now having a much deeper grasp of its capabilities, and any chance I get, I try to, as long as it's something that really can be beneficial to a client instead of what they might see as as a kind of a gimmick, because there are times where it's not necessary, but I mean, the thing is to really understand the capabilities of it and know what your client's wanting and try to figure out how you can utilize that technology to benefit them. So
Totally. Well, yeah, and I think you were perhaps a little humble in some of the things that you've done. So Jonathan has worked with the biggest of the big, and he is, in my opinion, a cornerstone of the energy industry in terms of pushing the boundaries and delivering these digital experiences. And it takes a very unique individual that not only can understand the technology, but communicate that technology to customers that may not necessarily be technically savvy. And so, Jonathan, in your opinion, like when you're talking to customers about projects, and a lot of the people listening are, they're also owners of creative studios, and they're probably wondering, well, how do we get up to pixel streaming? How do we work with it? When you're talking to customers, how does that conversation typically go? Do you first sort of identify sort of their needs and then propose a solution, and the solution will depend on what they have going on? Or in your experience, how does that conversation go?
Yeah, so I mean, most of the time, you just got to be a really good listener and understand what the client's looking for. If you have a long-standing relationship with a client, sometimes you can just be like, hey, we have this, not be so direct with it. Oh yeah, we have this new technology and we want to do a project just to be able to, get this out there. But, if it's, a technology like pixel streaming, if you have a solid relationship with your clients already, they might be more apt to just listen and hear you out and just see how something like that could meld into, their current, deployment in trade shows or learning modules or something like that. So, but I mean, because there's not always the need, as much as what pixel streaming can offer, there are other ways of doing the same things. But that's where you want to listen to them, find out what it is that they want, and then kind of throw that out there, and help them understand what its capabilities are. Because one of the problems that I have run into in the past is, as much as people do want to have, this really cool technology, if they don't understand it, then it's sometimes they're just fearful and they just don't want to move forward with something like that because it's too complicated for them to really understand what they're getting into. And a lot of times they're not the end person that makes the decisions on doing it anyways, as far as budgets go. So they have to then turn around and repeat your information to somebody else. And if it's too complicated, then they might say, okay, well, no, I don't know. I mean, they might be intimidated because they're not going to know how to relay that to their superiors. So, I try to, lay everything out. And I mean, as you know, my proposals are very, very detailed so that no matter who's looking at that proposal can really understand, what is going to be, what's in it, to be able to take place. So, but, yeah, I mean, when the opportunities present itself, I always try to, let them know what the capabilities are, because, there's a lot of companies that are out there that offer video, that do animations and things. So, if there's something that you can provide or put into their mind that, even if it's a few farther down the road, they might not feel that the current project that they want to do will warrant pixel streaming or some, newer technology. But then, if they understand that that's an option, then they might come back, in a little bit later and be like, hey, we have these training videos that we need to do, but what was that stuff that you talked about, in a previous call? And it's like, yeah. So then we can go ahead and revisit that, and then it sort of makes more sense for them. So.
And how do you go about, and because you're exactly right, sometimes it's maybe like planting a seed a little bit, and it's also definitely thinking about what they need and looking out for their best interests. But how do you go about building that kind of trust with the client? Like, what does it take for a client to trust you? Someone that's delivering, in a digital experience. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, longevity with a client, that always helps. If you're working with, in my experience, if it's a new client, you can talk about it, but like I said, if you're trying to, convey what the capabilities are to somebody that doesn't really, understand a whole lot of it, the back end workings of it, The best thing that I've found is you need to have samples. You need to be able to show them examples of what you can do with it, even if it's not something that you've built specifically. Just to show them that, you tell people that, it functions. You can take like a video game, and work with a video game style environment. They see that maybe as playful. So, but how can you turn that into a professional, enterprise level type working tool or solution? So, you want to have examples that can somewhat pertain to their business sector, and understand enough about your client so that if your examples don't necessarily align specifically with what they do, you have the understanding to take what they do and explain how this example here can be modified to work for them, so that they already have something that they can look at. Because I've had to use some of the examples in the past to be able to sell the technology, because people just don't understand. It's like, oh, well, what is pixel streaming? Okay, then you go off on your spiel, and it's like you start losing somebody, unless you're dealing with like a nerd, like me or you or somebody else that wants to understand the depth of it. But it's like, and then sometimes it's like if you're working with someone new, it's like, oh God, all they see are dollar signs. It's like, oh my God, what is this going to cost? What is this going to cost? So, you gotta be careful on that stuff. But I'm the type of person, as when I start talking about a project idea, I get very passionate. And
Right.
It's hard for me not to get bubbly. So some of my personality gets pushed out there anyways, so that they get a little bit excited to at least know what it is that's sitting there. But then it's like, okay, so what's this going to cost us? It's like, well, there's a lot of different directions that you can take with cost as well. This, you show them a project, and it's like, well, you don't have to start with this. You could start with a smaller portion of it and then build upon it. This is not, it has growth. And especially with a big company, you can start with a small, with one division, and then another division sees what this group is doing, and then, oh, we want to do something like that. Okay, well, do you want to do a separate piece, or do you want to just add on and make an additional element to this what's already sitting there? So
And there are so many solid nuggets in there of what you just shared. So the first one is, because the detailed proposals, that allows you to demonstrate your competence in that you know what you're talking about. And like you said, there are going to be multiple people looking at it from different perspectives. So if it's in writing and it's clear, then it's going to hopefully be clear for anyone else who's reading it. And then I totally agree with examples, because the closer you can get to what our delivery is going to be, the easier it is for the client to see. And it doesn't mean the client doesn't have imagination. It just means that it is so much easier to show things in a visual format rather than trying to describe it through words. And those two things, and then the passion, and that's something that I really respect about you, because as you know, I'm kind of even keel. So I don't have, I may be passionate about things, but I don't show it as much as you do. And it's infectious, and it makes the project more about the project and rather about the budget.
Yeah, I agree. It's I get, the more the more I learn about the technology, it's like, I want to be able to, push it and be able to get a client to work on it, but it's just so exciting, to understand what the capabilities are there. And actually, the more I learn about it, the more excited I get, just knowing what the capabilities are that are sitting there for myself, and so when I do have the opportunity to present it to certain clients, I don't show it to everybody, because it's just not necessary for everybody. If somebody wants, an animation, I'm not necessarily going to push an interactive, or even if they want a video, that is a welcome video or something like that, or about their company, I'm not going to push pixel streaming. So, but it is a capability that it's nice to have in your toolbox. And once you start building up that relationship, then you can push that out there. So.
And when we did our project together with pixel streaming, yes, you may have understood the technology, but correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe you spent the time to explain what pixel streaming was to the client. It was more about the solution and what we're going to provide, and not so much about the technology. Is that a fair assumption?
What do you mean by that?
So when you're actually and it's the NexTier project, which we're going to kind of showcase and go over. When you were pitching it to that organization, did you even mention pixel streaming and what this technology does, or is it just more about, hey, we're going to create a physically accurate representation of your office, and anyone in the world is going to be able to access it through the browser? Or how do you remember how you kind of framed it?
I think, I mean, I know it's a little bit ago now, but I believe when they were proposing the idea, we had been working on a variety of renderings for them, of 3D renderings of the well sites, and they wanted to be able to have something that they could use on their touchscreen panels for trade show purposes. So we were going to go about, well, we were trying to figure out the best approach to that, because one of the things of that, and I'm not kind of sidetrack here a little bit, but one of the nice things about knowing these different technologies is knowing, yes, you have interactive capabilities, but what capability would best serve the client at that moment, but then also how you can use that technology to build upon it so that they feel like they're getting the most value out of it. So in regards to pixel streaming and interactives, we had the touchscreen system that we were doing, but we were able to design it in such a manner that it could, for the first project for their investors conference, we did do a full pixel streaming piece that was hosted in the cloud for them. And then they had the links on their website during the investors conference. But then we were also able to modify that and then consolidate it into its own application that was not relying on the internet, so that they could use it on their touch screens on a computer that, it was a gaming computer, but it wasn't like a super powerful computer. So you guys end up going through and had to modify the resolution on some of the files, I think, to make it not as taxing on the computers. And then they also wanted to be able to have it on their laptops for their sales team. So, being able to take that one project instead of having to reinvent the wheel 3 times, understanding that technology was wonderful, because it was, okay, you guys want something that, the client can walk through. Well, we can do that for you. But you don't want to have to make it where they need some special equipment to do that. Boom, pixel streaming. But then you want to have it on a touchscreen panel as well, but touchscreens aren't necessarily going to be connected to the internet. So boom, take what you already did, modify it slightly for that. So it was cool to be able to show them that. That way it was like, would I've loved to do 3 completely separate projects? Yes, and in a way it was, but it was still using what they had already invested in and modified it just slightly. So.
Yeah, which clients love, and that's definitely in their best interest. But that's also kind of a huge golden nugget, is if you have an online version of it, which is through pixel streaming, you can also have other different types of deployments. Like you said, an offline version that's played at trade shows, or a version of it that's on laptops that can support it, that's given to the sales team. And so it's not just about the deliver or one single deployment, but you can actually have multiple, and you help the client understand that, so that they got more mileage out
Yeah.
of that interactive experience. And it always goes fast with you, man. We've got about 9 minutes left.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I'm so long-winded.
Well, so what are your thoughts on maybe going down the road of NexHub, talking about a little bit of the background on how we built it, and then we can show the project a little
Sure.
bit. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On this particular project with NexHub, this was an option there, or a project that we created for NexTier to be able to show their well, basically the NexHub is a digital like monitoring solution that was off-site, so they could monitor their equipment on the at the well sites out in the field. So they had different in the NexHub room. They had these different pods where with the different groups that were focused on monitoring specific for specific assets or aspects of the well sites. So what they wanted to do is for their investors, they wanted to be able to demonstrate this and not just show photos or video clips, but allow people to understand what each of these groups is actually focused on. So they had asked us, hey, can you guys create something of a walkthrough? And so what we did once this project was approved and everything, we started out by you and I, Quentin, going there, and we took, as you can see here, this is hundreds of photos that we took. I mean, anything of the room that you could imagine. I mean, the carpeting, the textures of the fabric, every little nook and cranny that we could find, the desks, the corners, everything. And they actually were nice to be able to give us blueprints of the room as well. So, and then once we had all that, then you and your team kind of worked your magic and put together something that was pretty amazing. So much so that when we were doing our first demonstration for the client, and we'd all jumped on a call, we were on a freeze frame of the environment, and they thought that we were actually on a photo of it, and we're just wondering, hey, so when are we going to get to see it? And it's like, that to me was like, oh my god, that is like, if you could ever give a compliment, that would be the compliment to give. So as you can see here that Quentin's navigating through, this was the digital twin that was created from that. And for their experience, we created a guided experience for them, which just made it a little more user friendly, so that people that aren't so adept at gaming and understanding the controls, we gave them a predefined path that they had to take. So so we didn't have a bunch of people that were navigating and then standing in the corner of the room not knowing how to jump or move around or anything like that. So,
and that's an important point in my opinion to mention, is because you have to understand who your end user is and what their level of comfort is with these types of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a very smart decision that was made, is let's not make this a WASD game, meaning like right now I'm navigating through it using WASD because you and I knew our end customer or the end user of this has not played Fortnite. They're not from the gaming industry. And so we created a very simple interface for navigation.
Yeah.
And
with clients or with an end user like this that was for this project, the less complicated it is, the more successful it really ends up becoming, because at the end of the day, this is for investors. This is not, it's a learning experience, but you can definitely overdevelop it and make it so that, yeah, it looks really cool, but you can go too far and then make it be detracted from the end goal. So what was the necessary purpose of it? And yeah, you want to get the information out there, so let them feel it, let them get a little bit of a understanding of the space, but keep them in track with it so that they go to each specific location as we want them to be able to look at the information. And then the what was it, the iframes, or that pop up, yeah, that had the information on it. I mean, that was pivotal for it, because it was one thing to navigate and go around, but having these pop-up windows that were presented for each of the modules, or each of the little computer stations, where they could read through things, see the tabs. And that was very familiar. It's very web-based, very typical for what the end user is used to. So it had the forward-thinking technology and the cool factor, but it also had user familiarity, which which allowed them to focus on learning about the capabilities, and it didn't detract from the ooh and the ah, because the ooh and the ah can sort of, you can go too far with that and be like, oh wow, this is really cool, but for what? Like, you're just trying to show us a room, or what are we supposed to be learning about in this space? So you got to think about all that stuff as well, because you have a cool environment, but make use of it.
Exactly. And I couldn't have said it better myself. It was visually impressive because it was high fidelity, but at the same time, it was familiar. And we used web-based navigation that a lot of people are already familiar with. I mean, it was literally a forward and back button.
Yeah.
And then the pop-up would automatically appear, and you could click through the tabs just like you click through the tabs on a web browser. And so, and I mean, some would say, well, that's too simplified, and I don't agree with that at all, because you've got to think about your end user and what they're familiar and comfortable with. And I think that's actually a mark of the expert, knowing who your user is and the best way for them to interact with the content that you're creating for them.
Yeah. I mean, how frustrating that would be if we just gave them this here and made them, oh,
they would do this.
Exactly. Yes. And with my advanced skill set in playing video games, I would probably be living in the cloud. Literally.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so, even I am having, like, I've got to be careful driving around this thing, like, and then all of a sudden, whoop, not Houston, Texas.
No, we're playing in Jesus land.
Exactly. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for joining and kind of sharing your thoughts. It means a lot to me, just because you're so seasoned and you're so experienced with so many types of projects, and you really do have a pulse on the industry and your customers. So it means a lot that you swung by and kind of shared some of your insights with.
Thank you very, very much. It's always a pleasure to be able to hang out with you and be able to share my experiences and any knowledge that I can bestow upon fellow creatives and business owners and all that kind of stuff. So thank you again.
Awesome. And thank you, everyone, for watching the show. I'm Quentin Anderson. This has been Real Time Talk with Eagle 3D. Today's guest was Jonathan Labby, owner of JCL Creative. Jonathan, if anyone needs to get in touch with you about a project or a question, is there a best way to do that?
Yeah, you can reach me through the website jclcreative.com, or you can reach me through email, which is it's my first and last name, Jonathan Labby at jclcreative.com, and it's JONATHANLABBY at jclcreative.com.
Boom. Cool. Well, thank you again, everyone, and we will see you on the next show. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jonathan.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. We are
We're done.
we're done.